You know what I'm sick and tired of is going to all these different places to try and find this equipment for training for the pipeline. I know I'm not training for the pipeline, but guess what? I still need equipment to train in. So I go
Yep.
to attackelite.com, use the promo code one's ready, because really I hate piecemeal and stuff. I like a one-stop shop. So getting all my fins, my masks, my ropes to learn to tie knots underwater, um, all that stuff kind of helps. They actually have Alice rucks too, which is
hmm
kind of cool. And I know that, we've got other people that have more kind of hunting and tactical rucks, but
Yep.
the go-to for us in the pipeline is the Alice ruck. So if I'm going to train, I'm going to try and use that if I can. But again, it's one-stop shop. Hit them up, attackelite.com, ATACLETE.com. Use the promo code one's ready, get you a discount. And then while you're doing that, what do you like to drink, Aaron?
Come on. If it's not a good, come on, man. If it's not a good single batch bourbon, I'm going with drinkhoist.com. So you're never going to be able to out train a bad diet, and your hydration is that number one baseline absolute thing that you got to knock down, right? You cannot train dehydrated. Hydration helps with everything from sleep to recovery to performance. You have to have it done. So drinkhoist.com. 100% the best supplement that I have come across in the last couple of years. The people over there are amazing. Allie and Rachel and everybody else that works there. First of all, they're just great people, right? They've been crushing it. They have premixed, which is awesome. The blue raspberry premix is fire if you just want a quick drink on the road. But they also have the packets. The packets are my favorite. So, I mean, they're this big. You can throw them in a ruck. You can throw them in a pocket. You can just put those in whatever water source, whatever water carrier you got, and you get some IV level hydration. There's still only one of 3 companies that's actually approved by the DoD for use. So you know that you're not running afoul of any rules or regulations. You can even use it midstream. It's actually one of the best hydration drinks I've ever had. I can actually drink it in the middle of a workout. So Gatorade or Powerade or some of these other drinks that I've had, sometimes they're too salty, and in the middle of a workout, they just taste like crap, and I don't want to drink them. Hoist, not a problem at all. I can chug that as I'm going through my workout. So go over to drinkhoist.com, use the code one's ready at checkout. You can get anything you want, but whether it's the premix or the packets shipped to you directly. Drinkhoist.com, use that code one's ready at checkout. And now we're going to move on to Senior Master Sergeant retired Jacob Garel. I think I just said his name wrong. I think it's Garel.
Garel.
Garel. So Senior Master Sergeant retired Jacob Garel. He walks us through his time at the Moffett Guard and his pretty interesting journey all the way through his new life now, which is he decided to be a marriage and family life counselor. He's got some other stuff on the horizon as well. So hope you enjoyed this podcast. Head on over to drinkhoist.com and attackelite.com. Use our code one's ready at checkout. Hope you like it. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the One's Ready team room. You got myself, you got Peaches, and our special guest, Pararescueman Jacob Garel. Jacob, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Man, well, no problem. That's just me being nice. That's just us getting here and saying, hey, how you doing? Man, you have an awesome story, and we figured out all the technical issues beforehand, and we were kind of just going back and forth. But why don't you do us a favor and introduce yourself to the guests. I cannot talk today. This is going to be a great podcast. It's always good when the host stumbles all over himself just getting into the intro. Buckle up, everybody. You're in for a ride. Jacob, take it away.
All right. I am Jacob Garel. I was a Senior Master Sergeant with the Moffett Guard team. Team leader, all that stuff. Team leader, trainer. And just recently retired. Moved on to a different career. I'm a marriage family therapist now, and just navigating the political waters of California when you're trying to get licensed.
Yeah.
So, or the bureaucratic, I should say. It's about as fun as when you're trying to get something done with the military. So
yeah. Well, the best part about Northern California is it's so close to America, like it's right there. It's almost exactly the same living in that San Jose area. So take us back. You're getting ready to go in. Did you go into the Guard right away, or did you want to come into the military? Like what led you into the Air Force?
So here's what happened, and I'll give you guys the full story. I came in originally to be a PJ, got 5 weeks in, and this was in 1995, and quit like a little fat quitter. Became a TAC P.
Okay.
I became a TAC P. It was all right. Like, had a lot of good friends in that, and a lot of guys did a lot of cool work. Man, I got out as soon as I could in 2002, and kind of spent about 2 years kind of figuring it out, odd jobs, that kind of thing. Then came back in 2004 to the Guard, was like, man, I hated being a quitter. Came back in, made it through, not unscathed, but moved through Moffett, and I was part-time for a long time there. I contracted over in Iraq for like 3 years, doing the protection stuff over there. Came back, they had a full-time position, said, why don't you try out for it? So I did, and the rest is history. I've been on that team forever, deployed with them 5 times, and that's just overseas, deployed, all kinds of local emergency stuff. Been on a jump mission out to, middle of the Pacific, done just about everything, mentored a lot of guys, ran our training program for new recruits, which is always kind of fun, because we get to do it a little different than duty does. So gives us that opportunity to really kind of weed dudes out and that kind of stuff. Then retired, man. I about 4 years ago, I decided I needed to find a career that, wouldn't destroy my body every day, and because you only have so much left. So what I ended up doing is I ended up looking into different programs. I had a cousin who's like, man, you probably make a good therapist. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. Applied to one school, got in, and rest is history, man. I did 4 years kind of going to school full time, working at Moffett. And I don't know, like everybody else, COVID was always like one of those things that people were all like, made it rougher for them. But man, COVID in school for me, I got to go online completely. Like I got to see all my clients online. So we were doing like, Capitol security. I've got like full uniform on. We're, hopping and running and gunning in cars, and I've got like my class on my phone, and like, oh, hey, how's it going? It's okay. Well, we're gotta go, and just kind of plug in and out, and it rocked. Like I loved it. So it made it so, because awesome. For the longest time I was like, man, how am I going to balance all this stuff? I'm supposed to go like do all this school stuff. They want you in person, and once COVID happened, man, I was like, back to being a full-time PJ and school, the magic. So,
fantastic. Just double dip. And that's highly efficient, doing 2 things at once.
That's right.
I want to talk a little bit, especially with you running the training program and stuff out at Moffett. We get a lot of questions about the Guard and the reserve. Can you kind of walk us through soup to nuts? So a candidate shows up at Moffett, they knock on the door and they're like, hey, I want to come and I want to be part of the 131st up here at Moffett. So how do they actually go through that process? What does like their first year look like?
So to start, like the first thing they have to do is contact a Guard recruiter, which is one of those, like, I don't know if it's like a Rubik's Cube or, like they're like, it's like
Indiana Jones. Like you have to, it's a puzzle and there's a monkey holding a crystal ball and you have to like get the monkey to give you the crystal ball. And then they tell you how to like go down this hallway. It's crazy. Like people are like, hey, how do I get a hold of this unit? I'm like, I know people that work there and I can't get a hold of them. I have no clue.
Yeah, if you don't have our phone numbers, you ain't getting a hold of us. Our phones don't even work. So,
right, nice.
So, but yeah, you got to find that recruiter, and their offices are typically located off the base. And they have such turnover, and they try to work with us the best they can. They always they get like just a massive amount of recruits for us. But that's where you got to start. And
right.
You get online, you get on the 130 or the 129th wing page, and you just got to go down to recruiters, get that number. Cause if you don't have that, like we can't do anything for you.
Sure.
So guy gets through finally, he'll get put on a roster, and then we'll run a pass test. Typically we're running pass tests, May and September. So we kind of got on a good, trying to build everybody into just one big shot, because, we get like 15, 20 dudes.
Onesie, twosie requests. Like, hey, you'd be doing one every weekend. And, I'm off on Wednesday. Can I run my IFT on Wednesday? I'd be like, no, we got to formalize it. So 2 IFTs, what'd you say, May and September?
May and September.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
one before summer, one in September.
Got it.
And then, man, what we end up doing is, it's not active duty. A guy passed the pass test and it's like, cool, you're good. Let's get all the paperwork done.
Right.
We're interviewing a guy that we're looking at for like the next 20, 25 years. So this is going to be our teammate. Like, we're buying him 100%. So it's a little different, and all the guard units do it a little differently, but for us, we would run a pass test, just the normal pass test, your push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, run, swim, underwaters, all that kind of stuff. And we try to do it as active duty as fairly, guys get that. And then what we typically do in a little extra like pool session, just a moderate, very low harassment, that kind of stuff. So guys will finish their swim and we'll get them, and we'll just make them do underwaters and just see where they're at. Maybe yell at them a little bit, or even kind of touch them in the pool. Nothing crazy. We're not trying to weed anybody out. We just want to see what they do under pressure. And
I hear what you're saying, but the candidates that have never felt that before, I bet it feels like somebody is listening to this right now and be like, that Jacob guy is bullshitting. He destroyed me in the pool. That first pool session.
No way. No,
I died. I died.
No, I'm an angel. I care about you. So
this is you.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay, little cones. It's okay, little cones. Yeah. Come with daddy. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
So we'll just run it. And usually that one only lasts like 30 minutes. Like, we really try to, it's just one of those, like, we just want to see where guys are at. There's no like trying to get anybody to quit. We don't really care. But this whole time, what we do is we kind of rank them. And so we rank, how well did they come and just crush the pass test, or did they barely pass, and
sure.
And when there's 15 guys in 2 slots, you gotta like bring it down. So then we do that and just see like, who was like choking from the very first, from the start, like, and, a lot of the really strong, guys who crush everything do that, they end up like just getting wrecked because they don't like to be touched. Even if it's trying to hold them. But then we do that. Then what we do is we usually give them a lunch and we'll do an interview process. So, we tell the guys, dress like you're going to get hired at a whatever job, give us your resume, give us your, your opening. And we always ask them, I think we've got it down. It used to be, we kind of do it haphazardly. So every once, we'd have like some normal job questions, and then there'd always be one of the guys in there that would ask them just a crazy question. And you're just like, dude,
like, yeah, what superhero would you be?
Yeah.
If you could be any apex predator, which one would it be and why?
Yeah. Or a guy starts breaking down while he's talking, and, somebody wants to hear more.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah,
we don't need to hear why why you're upset about life or whatever. Like, we're cool,
dude. I've been on a couple boards when we would do we used to run the enlisted, like basically if you're an enlisted cross trainee, we would run a selection that was out of it, right? So I had the privilege of running like 6 or 7, or working for and helping run 6 or 7 of those, and there were always the dudes that you would sit down and be like, all right, man, tell us why you want to be a PJ and not a maintainer. And be like, all right, well, it started when I got abused as a kid, right? And then they would go into this thing, and it's like the most awkward. You don't want to tell the guy like, hey, man, I don't want to buy this. I didn't ask you to be part of this trauma. Like, you're obviously emotionally upset about this. And oh, by the way, you sucked in the pool and you failed the IFT. Like, you sobbing in front of all of these people isn't going to get you select. Like, It's like the weirdest thing. You're like, why are you going into
this? So you're familiar. You're familiar with these interview processes.
Because I cringe so bad. Like, you get like, you're like, write me a letter saying, your intentions to join the pararescue career field. And it's a 15-page exposition on growing up in a single family.
Yes.
Like, you're a single parent family. You're like, oh man, that's not what we meant, man. Like, okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So cringy interview process.
Yep.
Got
so
it. Moving on.
We do an interview process. We got it down to like 6 questions. It's about 15 minutes. We try to get them like 15 minutes apart. And, we just kind of, then we all rate them. We do it. I mean, as anonymously, we just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, write down, and whoever ends up in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, overall, those are the guys that we end up offering positions to. And the other guys, we typically say, hey man, come back here. If you want to come back, and give them some advice, like, here's where you weren't good. Here's where you were good, and we've had a couple of guys actually come back, and it's not normal, but, and then
it does happen.
But then we got, then they're, brand new cone, bam, you're joining the Guard. They enlist the next month. So we're kind of hands off until we can get a hold of them. But once they're enlisted and they're ours, their Guard weekends are, pretty exciting for them. So our goal is to get them out the door as fast as possible, because what we found is, in Guard world, the medical is a pain in the ass. And so we have a really good medical guy now who really just pushes that paperwork. But, they'll come up with, and this is actually one of our questions now, is, do you have any ailments or medical conditions that may disqualify you? Did you recently have a completely rebuilt knee? Those kinds of things. Cause we've had guys who are like, well, yeah, it's not too bad, but I
have a whole bunch of hardware from a lower leg break. I've got, I have 17 pins, all the way through. Yeah. From my knee. It's hilarious when you find that out. It's the classic, paramedicine thing. You walk into somebody's house and you're like, hey, do you have anything wrong with you? No. Do you take any medications? Yeah. What do you take? Well, I take a water pill, I take a sugar pill, and I take a heart pill, and I take a head pill. I'm like, you just described hypertension, diabetes, a heart attack, and everything. And you told me that you were healthy. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm taking medicine for it, so I'm fine.
Man, some of the best stories were when you guys as NEJs, but specifically like guys that are good storytellers, like Mike Loria, would come back from doing a paramedic ride in New Orleans or Birmingham or wherever it was.
Birmingham, Alabama.
And he's like, we'd show up on scene and this person's, complaining of heart palpitations or heart things. And I'd go through, hey, this. He goes, well, yeah, I've got medication. Okay. Did you take your medication? Well, no, I don't want to take that medication. He's like, okay.
Well, this is why you're having
medication is for your heart, right? Well, yeah. or the show up on a scene like, I didn't do any drugs. Okay, well, you're having this issue. Okay, but did you do any of this? Did you this? Well, yeah, I took some stuff. It's just like,
yeah. Well, and it really screws the process up too. Like, these jokes are always funny, but it really screws the process up just from timing. So good on you guys for figuring out, like, hey, just tell us what you got, because this might be a hard no. We get DMs all the time where people would be like, I've had stage 4 cancer. I'm in remission now, but I had serious cancer. I was under a doctor's care for 3 years, and now I'm great and I can pass all the tests and stuff. Be like, hey, we love you. You're doing great. That's a great story, but you're not going to qualify. They're not going to let you in. So that's just time wasted. I can imagine how much extra time people have put into trying to get somebody through this process, only to have them turned away at medical. So I'm glad you guys figured that out.
Yeah, that's always a tragedy, because, you get a guy everybody likes and is really, pushing for, and, there's like, sorry, and then he's doing like
some weird thing.
Yeah, and he's been stuck 18 months or something like that and still hasn't gone off. And, you can't have a career when you're in cone land, right? Like, these guys are typically doing part-time jobs. They're, that's what I had to do. You just go work somewhere for like 6 to 8 months and, make ends meet, or you're working somewhere and you're about to quit, but you can't go to school.
Because you're really just going, you're going training session to training session. Like, you need a job that doesn't get in the way of your primary focus here, which is trying to become a PJ. Yeah. So that's a tough one. That's a tough balancing act. How do guys deal with that? What do you guys do to guide them through there? And then follow on question to that is how long do guys usually spend in that cone land sort of area before you get them out the door to A&S?
So our recommendation is like always the same, like plan to leave in 6 to 8 months, and so whatever like job you have, we get a lot of guys who are like, especially Bay Area, seems to have a lot of, I'm an engineer and, I'm super important over at Google and, I'm really good at running and, doing, high kicks and shit. But, the reality is like, these guys are like, well, they're going to let me go and it's fine. And I just want to do something I'm passionate about, and which is cool. Like, I'm all about that. It's good to have smart dudes, but we get a lot of those guys. And so they typically, these guys have like masters and PhDs in engineering and all kinds of crazy stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
You want to come do this, huh?
Yeah. Tell me this,
have
college
you heard
boy.
Me?
You didn't.
Have you heard me?
You just have to have a high school diploma, right? Like,
you need a 50 on the ASVAB and you need a GED, my guy. Like, I don't care that you're a tech bro. Can you buddy breathe? What's your ruck look like?
For sure.
And can you hold a conversation with my dumb ass?
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. That's
I know you. I know you're sitting there on your high horse, going like, why am I wasting my time talking to this idiot?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that sometimes comes up in the interviews, but we'll get some guy from. We had a dude from like Harvard or MIT, like top of everything in his life. And we hired him just on that. He was weird as hell, but we hired him and, he went out on the boat one day to help us pull chutes and broke his foot. And that was it. Like, no more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just weak genes.
I mean,
super smart. All the genes went to his brain. So, like, bad mamma jamma there, but man, don't be weak, I guess.
That's how I felt about Mike Laurie. I know I just brought him up, but like, he went to Dartmouth and I was like, well, wasting your time talking to me.
Yeah. He had a microbiology degree. He's a doctor now too, which is great. Everybody always knew it. We always looked at Mike. We're like, man, you're too smart. You're too good for us, Mike. You should get off this team and you should go impact the world in a more in a more grand fashion. And he did because that's what he should have done.
You're better than us, girl. You got it.
Maybe I'm over the head. I don't know here, but did I hear you mention a jump in the into the Pacific for a rescue?
Yeah. That's kind of our bread and butter at Moffett. So we do a lot of we do jump. We get called up by the Coast Guard for anything 200 miles out that they can't get to, and we'll do a lot of transloads and all kinds of great stuff that way. But yeah, guys at our unit, there's guys at our unit that have like the new chief, Finney. I don't know if you guys know Mark Finney. Yeah, he's going to be the new chief.
You guard guys, it is like a black hole. Like, even guys that I went through the pipeline with, that I graduated with, I'm good friends with, go to Alaska, go to Moffett. You never see them again. You cross paths with them downrange. You're just like, what have you guys been doing? They're like, oh man, we're getting on. We're doing all this stuff. Like, up here at the New York Guardian, you never see him again. Like, the active duty circle and the guard reserve circles very rarely overlap. It's a weird thing.
Constantly rescuing people.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're also kind of
having to deal with active
we're a private
duty
club. We get a lot of guys who are ex-active duty who are like, man, I ain't ever going back there. This place sucks.
Right. Oh yeah. I made it out the hood and I ain't never going back. I made it to the suburbs of San Jose and I'm never going back to active duty. So your candidates get done with A&S. They get selected. They get picked up. They get on this awesome Pacific rescue mission, which you guys do a ton of out of Moffett. That's great. They get to see that going on. What does their first year look like once they get back? So
first year, so we get guy in a pipeline. He's gone now. Like, it used to be, they'd come back and, as a cone, you just get tortured and do all the heavy lifting, kind of like active duty, only, different.
Sure.
But now typically we get a guy and he's like in the pipeline as long as he doesn't get hurt or set back, like, just normal pipeline. What is it? 18 months, 2 years, somewhere in there. Guy comes back and first thing we do is, get him up, get him ready to be part of the mission because we just don't have enough guys. We've got guys, but they're part-time. So, when we get a mission, hey, the alert goes out, guys who can come in. But training, man, they're going to spend a year of just going. And like, I was an active duty PJ, so I don't know, but I imagine it's very similar. You get a young guy and it's like, you're going to fly on everything. You're going to jump on everything. And you're going to be an active member and you're going to do medicine. You're going to just get them solid on our team. So, jumping is really the big one. Just because we do have the jump mission. So we try to get them up, on all their jump stuff. We use the SOV, 3 at our unit. So a lot of times, guys have to come back and get re-qualled on our stuff compared to the active duty, which, what are you guys using?
RA1.
The RA1. Yeah. So guys come back, which is cool because we got RA1s. And so guys are coming back already RA1'd up. And then we just got to get them SOV real quick. But yeah, getting those jumps into the ocean are the big one. The day, night equipment and full mission profile just to get that piece up, because every guy wants to be on a jump mission. You don't want to be the guy who's like, man, if I just had one more jump or whatever.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I get it as a active guard or a full-time guard, but I've always wondered with the part-timers, because as an active duty dude now and at a unit, we are constantly training, not for currencies, but just to try and be proficient in whether it's jumping, small unit tactics, for me, doing JTAC stuff, like just to get proficient, because there is a difference between currency and proficiency, and you don't want to be improficient or non-proficient or whatever it is. South Carolina education. You want to be good at jumping, especially in the Pacific, because the ocean is unforgiving. So, like, how do part-timers do it?
Man, when I was a part-timer, it's tough. Like, basically what ends up happening. So you come off those seasoning days, and we've been really good about getting guys orders if they want to stick around, which has been really good for our unit. But I mean, there are times when, the orders dry up, and when that happens, it's just like, well, we got orders for very specific, windows. So it'll be like, we plan a training trip, you put out the, who wants to come, and then, you just kind of start working it the same way you guys work it. But for us, we've been really good at finding money, getting extra money, and guys really like trips. So, for the guys working full time, they'll definitely come around for trips. Like, hey man, we're going to a shooting, right? We're going to go do a shooting trip in Vegas. Okay. Yeah, I'll go to that one.
Mm-hmm. Of course you will.
Yeah. It's always harder. Like, hey man, we're going to go to Fort Hunter Liggett and go, live in the woods for a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to go down to Louisiana and do some jungle / rucking training, but like, it's just crickets in the team.
Yeah.
And be like, hey man, hit me up when one of them Key West dive trips comes up.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to get on there.
Yeah. Oh man, I just can't, mom needs me home, and oh gosh, I'm just working full time, and this job is really hard right now. Oh man, we switched it to Hawaii. All right. Well, let me move some things around.
Yeah, it turns out mama don't need me. Yeah, it turns out.
Let me move some stuff around. I got this.
Let me move some stuff.
So, but for us, yeah, man, it's just the guys who go part-time, typically they do have some other, like, we got a lot of firemen, police officers, those kind of guys where, their schedules are pretty forgiving. So, they'll come in and do like a couple weeks and, just get trained up. Yeah. But staying current is like the hardest thing in the Guard, because, if a guy's busy for 6 months where he like just started an academy or something like that, he's going to go down, and then we're going to have to get him back up. And, that part's always just part of the, guard thing, man. You just got to deal with all the extra stuff. So the AGRs spend a lot of time just managing that nightmare.
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because, like, as I'm sitting in the seat I am, like, yeah, okay, so I've spent, 24 years of jumping, fast roping, that kind of stuff. But when you are not doing it constantly, like, I've got a good baseline. Like, no matter what I do, I'm safe. But if you're going to expect me to perform at an advanced level, like, I need to be proficient at it. Because there are, pieces of equipment change, TTPs change, little, things that help you out to just keep you even more safe, to mitigate that risk even more. You forget because you've got so much other stuff that you're worried about. And I felt that recently. Like we went fast roping a couple months ago, at least for me, and the guys are on there. They're like, all right, well, come on, I'm like, yeah, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. Like I promise you. But even then I could feel that I wasn't where I used to be,
Yeah.
And it's not like I had been out of the seat that long, but it's just, I could tell. I'm like, okay, I am less comfortable with this than I used to be, because I wouldn't even have given it a second of thought. It's just a weird thing. So I imagine for a part-timer, it's even more.
Yeah. Depending on the part-timer. But yeah, no, it's a balance, man. You make a commitment to the Guard, it's like that blood in, blood out kind of thing. And like, guys really do, they really bend over backwards trying to make their schedules work. Because there is that level of professionalism, right? Like nobody wants to be the guy that sucks, and it's a tough place to be when you are. So guys really, the guys on the team work hard to get on as much as they can. We have very few guys that, are just ghosts for the most part. They're just really, really, really part-timers. But, even those guys will come in, and when they do come in, they'll help out around the place, and they know like, hey man, I need to just get up basic stuff. Like we just need to go do helicopter work, or we just got to go do a jump in the ocean one day or something like that. And they'll come up for those. Like those guys won't come on the big trips. They'll come up just for the basic stuff, just to keep that proficiency. So yeah, I mean, our team kind of fosters that. So, and I'm like I said, I can only speak for Moffett, but I know a lot of guys in Alaska. It's the same thing, man. They just go up and, all right, I'm going to go be alert. And while we're on alert, we're going to get all our training done. And, and maybe I don't get to go on all the trips, but, I'm getting what I get, and I'm going to stay proficient. I'm going to be not dangerous. So.
Not dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Nice. So, and then one more thing, kind of on the Guard that people ask about, it's like your deployment, frequency, or the ability to get on deployments and stuff. So you're maintaining currency, and it does come up like you guys are in the bucket to go deploy worldwide, just like every other pararescue unit on the face of the planet. So how often is that tempo? Like how often can you get guys out the door to get some of those combat deployments?
So typically with the deployment, what it looks like for us is, you'll get hit about 18 months to 2 years out. And we're kind of on that cycle. Sometimes it's a little longer, sometimes it's not. And, about 6 months out, we start really starting hard, all the guys that are on the deployment. And typically everybody's a volunteer on the deployment. We very rarely have to like say, hey, you were going, regardless. Most guys want to deploy just because, here's your chance to go PJ it up somewhere. And, even if it's strip alert, like it's something, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so about 6 months out is where we start really kind of honing in, training hard. We get all those guys on orders, guys who want to come in full time, we'll have them come in. And we really try to just, get everything down. You'll just go trip to trip to trip. To get all those skills solid, driving, jumping, helo skills, medicine, the whole gambit. And, then we deploy like everybody else. A lot of times, what we'll do is if they'll let us, we'll split deployments. So guys just do like 2 months. But I think that's kind of coming to an end just because, just stay in theater. It's just easier. So our deployments are looking more like 4 or 5 months, like it's still, in the grand scheme of deployments, 4 or 5 months isn't that long. So
no, it's not. Those 2 month deployments are actually really tough too. So, by the time that you get in country, get on your sleep schedule, figure out where you don't know where the gym is. Like you got to figure out how to walk over to the gym, and where do I need to go to talk to this person, and get your computer account set up. Like that's almost a month.
Yeah.
Like you're really figuring your life out for that first 3 weeks. you're not really hitting your stride. I actually like deploying. ST deployments are a little bit longer. They're typically, 6 months, 6.5 months really. And if you go a little bit early and a little bit late, like if you got to go for advon and then, your turnover, like that was actually a little bit easier because you were starting to hit your stride about 2 months in. And then you had 3, 4, and 5, like really month 3, 4, and 5 to get some good work in. And you really felt like you knew the process and time to get some good work in and make some strides. Going for 2 months, sometimes it's too fast. By the time you figure out what you're doing, you're like, well, it's time to pack up. We gotta start making this movement back home. Yeah. So yeah, totally get it.
I'm with you, man. I used to deploy the first couple deployments the full time, and then then when things slowed down, I was like, nah, I'll just do 2 months.
Yeah. Right.
No, right. You do get in that, and that's a good point, Aaron. It is there was certain communities, not necessarily ours, but where you would do 2 months, kind of 2 months on, 2 months off. Mm-hmm. So you're still gone 6 months out of the year, but like 2 months is tough because it takes you a little bit to get in that kind of mindset. And I know a lot of the contracting companies, they do 2 months on, 2 months off too. But I think when you're falling in on things that are already established, it's a lot easier. Whereas a lot of times, like if I was always going to Bagram and I'm going to do the same exact thing, like, okay, I could do 2 months on, 2 months off, and
you're sleeping in the same room. Yeah. Like you're going back to the exact, like sometimes you go back and you're like, oh, nice. You guys put extra stuff on the walls in the gym. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, tight, a new AC unit or something like that. But
yeah, exactly.
Most of ours were like, okay, well, which fob am I going to now? And it's like, you couldn't just fall in because that whole area is a different dynamics and all that kind of stuff. Different team. It's different for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But, no, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was afraid that I was stepping on you there. I was a little bit lagged.
No.
How is retirement life treating you? Is there anything that you wish you had done different? And I know that we're going to kind of hit the skills bridge and the projects you're working on, but as certain folks are looking to start a transition, is there anything you wish you had done a little bit different, or that you're like, dude, you've got to do this?
Well, like I said, man, we hired this awesome medical dude at our unit, and I think he was helping me out about 2 years out. And like all PJs, none of us ever want to be DNIF. So
nope.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or combat controllers. None of us ever want to be DNIF. And so, we just suffer in silence, man. And he was really good. And we had a really good flight doc who was also like, okay, do you need to be DNIF? No, maybe you can be down a few days, and I'm just going to put it in your record, and you're just not going to jump. You're not going to do stuff. And then you're going to come back and talk to me, and, we'll see how you're feeling. And that way you don't have to do the whole rigmarole of, okay, now I'm DNIF. Now I got to go back to the same doc, for a guard, like you could be DNIF 1 month and you're like, okay, I'm good. 3 days later, and the same doc that DNIF'd you isn't there. And so you got to like either email him and go through like all that because he's part-time and, or she, and so that can be a real pain in the ass. So you could be DNIF for 2 months because, you hurt your foot on you twisted an ankle, you just wanted to get it annotated. And he's like, we'll put you on DNIF for a little bit. And all of a sudden you can't do anything. So guard for us has been like, that's kind of been a learning curve. But man, and this is active duty anywhere, you guys got to annotate that stuff. If it's not annotated, I just went through I laundry listed all the stuff that I had, and I had a lot of good records on it, and it made it a lot easier. I mean, it's still the VA. It's still going to be slow, but at the end of the day, man, they just want to see that paperwork, because you got that when you're getting out and you go talk to the doc for your shippy. Like, man, if you have all that stuff, he just goes down it and says, cool. Like I'm not going to doubt you on any of this stuff. You're good. And that shippy gets put over too. And then now you're like, you got all this paperwork and it's solid. And that's been really helpful because I've got approved on almost everything I claimed. You know, and
Nice.
had I not had certain paperwork, I don't think I probably would have got it. There'd probably be about a quarter of it that wouldn't have been approved, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, it's good to have video of yourself getting knocked out. So
great. Yeah, that helps.
It does help.
Yeah.
I think I've got a picture of my parachute accident that somebody took as they were seeing me fall through the air. I'm like, oh, I could probably use that if somebody.
I'm going to want to enter this in the old records.
Yeah, this needs to be put in.
Gonna want to put this one in.
But yeah, man,
that's a keeper.
But yeah, man, like that's one thing. The other thing I'd hope guys do, and this is just like in general, like you got to start having a plan at least a year out about what you really want to do, because when you get out, like if you're not doing anything, you just will continue not to do anything. And that's, you know, that's been across the board for a lot of guys who've gotten out on our side, you know, and the ones that kind of stepped into a new career are still in it. Like they're going just fine, you know, and I think, you know, just ultimately guys do this awesome job for however long they can do it. And, you know, for me, like I didn't really want to quit, but retire, but
you said what you said.
I said what I said.
Quitter. You quitter. You said
dirty,
what you said.
Stupid quitter. Once a quitter, always a
dirty,
quitter.
Stupid quitter. Yeah, you and me
nice.
both.
But man, like, you know, we have the coolest job on earth, and like it's hands down. And you know, when you're in the Guard, you know, I lived away, so I would come down to the unit on a Monday morning and, you know, leave on a Thursday or Friday on a normal work week and then come back home. So, you know, I'm just living the dream down there, and it was awesome. Like just hanging out with the bros, doing cool shit. And like we have an awesome mission. Like there's just nothing, like there's no place on earth you get to do it. And, you know, you come back up to, you know, my kind of, I would say civilian life up in the hills here, in, you know, you get around these dads and, you know, they're like just beat down by being a banker or, you know, whatever it is. Like, they make
you feel like you're a different animal. Yeah. You're like, yeah, I've been engaging a lot more kind of, you know, cause we, you know, like we were talking about before we kind of hit record here, but you know, Peaches, Trent and I, we're all looking at that next thing. So you're starting to engage in different circles, and it's crazy. You feel like you're a different animal. I have conversations with folks that, you know, through no fault of their own, and especially in the PNW up here, like there's a lot of tech bros, there's a lot of business folks that I have been engaging with, and you hear what they're talking about and you're like, you and I are so far away from one another. Yeah. Like, I feel like we don't have anything. We are, you know, same age, same, you know, general upbringing, but I couldn't be further away from you. Like, I just don't understand it. It's something I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite movies, Tombstone, you know, I just want to have a normal life. You know, Wyatt's little brother's like, well, what's a normal life? What are you talking about? You know, your normal life was going down Monday through Thursday, doing things that it's a bucket list item.
Yeah.
You know, I want to skydive. That's a bucket list item for people. And you're like, oh no, I'm going to do that into the monster soup of the Northern Pacific Ocean, or, you know, the Pacific Ocean off the northern coast of Cali, and maybe see a great white shark. And then I'm going to save someone's life by, you know, treating them and stopping them from dying and getting them to a hospital. And, you know, Wednesday I'm going to shoot guns, and, you know, that's just a normal week.
Yeah.
Like, that, you know, 20 years or so of that. And you kind of get desensitized to what a normal life is. So
that's also that's another reason why we have adrenal fatigue too.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's 100%. Yeah. My cortisol levels are completely and totally just wrecked because, you know, I go out and rip off 3 free fall jumps, and then I walk right into my office and start writing EPRs, and that's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's so weird.
Having to like regulate and deregulate those, you know, adrenaline and cortisol levels, absolutely ridiculous. Oh, what happened today? Well, I almost died, but then I had to do a CBT after I got back to the unit because I was red on some spreadsheet somewhere. So no, that's tight.
Yeah.
What are you working on now? Because you've got a couple, you know, irons in the fire right now. We just got done talking about an awesome career in Guard and how amazing, you know, how jacked our cortisol levels are and all that kind of good stuff, and did the transition. But you've got other things that you're working on now that you have retired. So what do you got going on?
So, you know, man, like I said, I got into a marriage family therapist program because, you know, I just wanted to slow it down. But the reality is, man, like I saw good dudes, like good operator dudes, have real tough transitions getting out of the military. Like dudes I care about. And like it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of guys who just had super careers and, just the idea of that transition was so hard that, with their families and all, just life just happened to them. And, it took a while for them to straighten up or, get back to even. And that's the hardest thing to watch for guys we care about. Right. So that was one of the big drivers for, kind of doing marriage family therapy. So, of course, my goal has always been to get back and give back and work with veterans and keep going that route. And veterans, when I say veterans and first responders and just people, what is that? The operator syndrome. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. There's a guy working pretty hard on it. But, there's just that mentality, man, that guys get out and regular life is hard. Like it's hard just getting up day to day where you're like, man, I'm not doing anything exciting. Or I'm not doing, it's just not part of it. It's
because you spent your whole life training for the mission. Mm-hmm. And then the worst part about that is like, you get the mission, we've all been, the three of us just on this podcast, sitting here right now. I can come up with a million examples of, hey, I was training for this thing and then this thing happened and I got to go do it. And you have amazing job satisfaction or, whatever you want to call it, right? You get that reward. It is tough getting up every morning. It feels like, I liken it to CrossFit athletes that just do CrossFit, right? Like you're not going to go to the games. Like you're killing yourself every day just to work out in this gym, and a lot of people get burnt out by that because they're like, for what? Yeah. What am I training for? Like I've felt that way with jujitsu a lot, like I'm never going to be like my tournament days are probably gone, right? Like I'm not going to go be Gordon Ryan. I'm not going to compete in jujitsu. So it sucks to go get tuned up 4 days a week for what? You have to find another purpose and you have to be able to focus in on that. And some guys really do have a lot, like they get lost. And I've had, unfortunately really close friends that I've seen just get lost. Yeah. They're like, for what am I doing here? I'm just waking up to be a cog in this machine and just sort of exist. Like that's not what we're hardwired to look for that bigger purpose.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I always think like, especially guys, in this kind of career field, it's so niche, like we're, very, very tiny, tiny teams. Everybody knows everybody, it's not like, any of the bigger, like the SEALs, they've got like 1 million SEALs and, maybe a guy knows somebody, maybe he doesn't, but like everybody knows everybody in our little PJ world. So,
well, and the fact that you have so many PJs, and this is something that was news to me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, but the fact that there is a single text chain that has, how many PJs are on that text chain?
It's like 450 now. That's literally how we hooked up. Mm-hmm. Somebody finally started a text chain, and I bet that there's like 60% of like PJs period that are alive. I bet there's like 60 to 70% on that text chain alone.
I mean, that's pretty freaking
That's how
cool.
small it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's super cool.
And it's good because, and I know that we have a AFSPEC War kind of Slack channel as well, but that's, it's great because you get the connectivity. We are so small. If somebody needs something or somebody needs some help or their, job advertisements or whatever like that, like there's that community. It just proves how small we are. And you're right, Aaron. This is exactly how we linked up with Jacob because like it was just like on a text chain.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Not a text chain I'm part of either.
He-Man Woman Hater Club. You're not allowed in. We got high standards for admittance to that text chain.
No red hats.
Red hats at all.
That's what you guys should name the group.
No red hats. Finally, you red hats have been keeping us down on the ST side for our entire career. So now we finally get this one on you.
I'm a peacock. That's why you're not let me fly.
You gotta let me fly, Cap. So Jacob, like I do want to hit on something. You mentioned that SkillBridge really changed the way that you manage that transition and you want to get it out there. So we know what SkillBridge is, obviously, but man, hit it up for everybody that doesn't understand what SkillBridge is. kind of run them through what your experience was with SkillBridge.
All right. Well, SkillBridge, man, it is an on-the-job training, man, and they will give you, it's just a temporary TDY. So if your plan is, I've always wanted to be, I don't know, just whatever. I can't even think of, for me, it was marriage family therapist. I was like, man, I want to be a marriage family therapist. I got to work on my hours. I got to do 3,000 hours in, so much time. What it did was it offered me an opportunity to basically take 6 months, still get paid active duty, all the active duty pays. You stay under the umbrella, but I got to work at work at the place I'm still working at now, and get my hours done and transition out where it's, I'm still getting paid. Like I don't have to worry about like all the money and all that kind of stuff. And it also, it offered me that opportunity to get that actual transition piece, how to become a normal human being 6 months but still being able to go and, go down to the unit when I needed to take care of business, that kind of stuff, and it just keeps you under that umbrella for just that time. So man, I recommend any guy who's looking to get out, you can do anything for SkillBridge. Like, I mean, obviously they want you to do, what you're planning on doing as a career. But I mean, guys have gone out and said, well, I'm going to be a professional dog walker and that's going to be my business. And so my business they give a business plan. They're going to be their own site, like you can work it the best you can. I mean, they do it for people all day long. The only things you got to make sure you're not getting paid. You can't double dip. That's a pretty huge one, but everything else is really open on it, man. And it's just not that hard, but you don't have to, they've got all their sites that you can pick, but if you have like a specific site that you want to work at, you just put it in the application system. And I'm kind of proud of it because the place I'm working at now, I was able to get them on the site, and now they get calls from like veterans all over the place that are looking to like transition out, because we have a bunch of different jobs that they can do. That's amazing. Yeah. So it's really cool. Like,
man, good on you. Good job.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I can't harp on SkillBridge enough, man. If you're looking to get out and you just want to buy yourself some extra time, it's there for us. They will offer it to us, and you just got to take it. Like, and once again, it's like, oh man, I just don't want to, I feel like I'm taking advantage. You're working your life, and your life at the end, when you make that commitment, like I'm getting out, I'm retiring, like you got to take it seriously. That's all those things you have to take seriously, and you talk to your leadership. That's what I did. I just let them know, this is my plan. Here's what I'm going to do. And they supported me on it. If they're like, no, man, we can't give you up, then obviously it's a different talk, but most of them are ready to like, let you go. No, get out of here. You're good.
Yeah. Like, hey, just kind of move on.
Yeah. You're not really doing anything anyways.
What made you,
nice.
You said that somebody back in the day said that you should be a therapist. So what made you like jump on that, the being a marriage therapist or family and marriage therapist? Man, I'm at our unit. Like I'm one of the guys, you have somebody at your unit that talks to all the guys all the time, knows their kind of ins and outs, and, guys feel comfortable coming and talking to about stuff. That was me. So, just that skill set, man. It's, then when it, and like I said, my cousin mentioned it to me. She was already in school where I went to school, and she said, why don't you try being a therapist here? You don't have to take a GRE. I was like, well, I don't like tests, so sure, that sounds great.
Nice.
But I got into it, man, and I had some great mentors in that program, and like it's life-changing stuff. While I'm thinking about it, man, the difference between Voc Rehab and your GI Bill. Those fools at because I was with one of the veterans groups there, I was the only one using my GI Bill. All those other guys were using Voc Rehab. So just once you get that disability rating, and if you're planning on going back to school, like, man, apply through Voc Rehab, because you get to keep your GI Bill for a little longer. So if there's other stuff that Voc Rehab won't approve, then you can use your GI Bill for that. But man, if you got a plan, like these guys, one was going through law school, and he had started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he had started, some Army guy, Voc Rehab, did up, he had like 60, 70% disability. They approved him from like his bachelor all the way through law school, and he was crushing it. It's cool. It's cool to hear.
So Voc Rehab's the way to go. You were the one doing it incorrectly.
Yeah. Well, I was still active duty, so I couldn't do anything about it. I'm like, man, this is BS.
Okay. Well, that's different. Yeah.
But hey, man, it was a good quality. Like GI Bill, awesome. Like it really, it was an expensive ass school. My peers are like $120,000 in debt, so I would definitely not recommend going to a marriage family therapist program unless you're rich and loaded or you're coming out of the military.
Which
with a GI Bill,
none of us are.
Yeah.
What? But so you're working on that, and that's what you're doing, which is, I think, extremely noble, and I think very important, just because, our community does, not just our community, actually, like the military in general, and probably society, because we are a microcosm of society, but is definitely struggling with a lot of the mental health and the divorces and all that kind of good stuff. So kudos to you for doing that. But you're also you're part of another project that's going on. You mind telling us about the Heroic Hearts project?
Oh, so the Heroic Hearts, I'm just one of their ambassadors, but they're pretty awesome. It started with a Navy SEAL, and like I said, man, I should have pulled
Jesse Gould.
That's who it is. Yes, yeah, Jesse. Yep. And man, he has a great backstory. Like got out. I think he was a fairly successful banker, doing that kind of stuff, and but drinking too much. And, guys can look him up. I don't want to tell his story, but he's got a great one. But he finally made that choice he went to Peru, did an ayahuasca retreat there, and changed his life. And he decided, I'm going to change all veterans' lives. So, being the guy he was, he's kind of a big proponent of plant therapy. So, plant medicine. And that's kind of the general term for it. He does, he gets scholarships for veterans, and flies them down to Peru and does the ceremony, and really tries to just help dudes out the best he can. So they're, it's a great organization. They're very well run, good people, they know their stuff. So in that model, I'm planning on doing my own little plant medicine up where I am. And like I said, I'm still got 1, 2, 3 things to do before I can, put it down, but I will be beta testing for all PJs out there. So I'll put out, nice. Probably put it out on that others may live, and, and we'll go from there. But yeah, same thing. I want to do 6-man groups. And we'll just come up here, try to get it all paid for, that way it doesn't cost guys anything. Just come up, do a little plant medicine here, and we'll work through some stuff. So the research is, ongoing out there, but man, plant medicine, there's a lot of real great pros, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of really great work with it. Legit work, not the life coaches out there that are like, man, let's just get freaky. So
that's not really what I'm looking for.
That's not really what I'm looking for. Yeah.
But
thanks, but no thanks.
But yeah, man, just getting operators, getting guys, first responders, that kind of those kinds of peeps that are seeing a lot of the trauma, man, and they're just, they're living it, right? And there's a great book, The Body You Keep Score. You can put that out there, man. That's, it's just about how we kind of carry trauma in our bodies. And for us, we're all about our bodies, right? So, yeah, but I mean, we work, our bodies are like the biggest tool that we use, head to toe, and all the stuff we see, all the terrible and the good, it gets caught up here. And so trying to get that released and getting it out there, man, you release that trauma a lot of times, man, you feel lighter. So that's the goal, is to make us all feel a lot lighter.
It's that word specifically, lighter, is what I've heard several people say. So you're not the only one. It's just, that's the only way that you can articulate it, is that you just feel lighter. And having not experienced it, I don't necessarily know, but I know I can still relate to the feeling when you say, I just feel lighter. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for taking care of the folks that have, gone before us and that will come after us. Mm-hmm. I think it's extremely important. So appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Like what I'm doing, like where I'm at. So, it's,
but the drinking part though, for real, like that is the one thing. And that's actually the comment that I wanted to make. I was texting Aaron saying, hey, I want to add to this, but, that is the drinking part is what a lot of our guys end up going down that kind of road. And it's unfortunate. So, I know several people that have said that, hey, this helped me course correct.
Yeah.
And it's a lasting change, and it's it's out there saving lives. So, man, Jacob, this feels like a good place to close from the very beginning of your career. TAC P guy that ended up finding a way, past your initial failure, and then finding a way onto the Moffett team, and all of the impacts that you made throughout your careers through SkillBridge, man, all that stuff is awesome. And now moving on to that second part of your life, doing the marriage and family counseling stuff, and still finding a way to give back to the community, man, it's awesome. I just want to say thanks from Peaches and myself, and Trent would say it too if he wasn't off gallivanting wherever it is that he's gallivanting. But when there's too many PJs on the podcast, he typically doesn't want to be involved.
I feel you.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. No judgments there.
Yeah.
But man, I just want to say thanks for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time, and we always end with a piece of advice, right? So, for all those folks, and it might not be Guard or Reserve, it might just be some folks that are trying to do something as impossible as become a pararescueman. If you could give one piece of advice to those folks, what would you tell them?
Man, finding that strength, like finding that resiliency, training yourself in that resiliency, because for us, like, I always think like PJs, I think Sergeant Alec said it best, is,
Wow,
I know,
Melvin Alec, that is a callback. Yeah. What up?
Yep. But I mean, he said it best, man. It's like all of us have like these big little black empty holes that we just keep wanting to fill in, right? And we try to do it whatever way we can, and for us, I always think about that resiliency piece. Like, it's the only commonality, because I mean, I think of operators and PJs and everybody, just across the board, we're just like as diverse as a group as you're ever going to come across, and, you've trained a bunch of people, you've trained, plenty of cones, and you can't pick who's going to pass. Like, you could be like, that guy for sure. Yeah. He's so strong, and guys like him.
That's my horse.
Yeah. He's going to do it. And then they're like, I quit. Yep. I hate this, and you're like, cool,
right away.
Well, that sucks. But that piece of it, man, that, if you want to start this kind of career, know yourself enough to know, like, have you put yourself in situations where you've had to persevere, had to be resilient, had to kind of get through something. And if you haven't had a hard talk with yourself, if you haven't been at the bottom or failed a bunch of stuff and been able to kind of rise back up, like, this might not be the career for you, because the only thing I know for sure is we fail all the time. Like, when you try, ego gets a little bruised and it's too much, like, this ain't the place for you, man. But if you're the kind of person who, can rise above that kind of stuff, for sure, come to us. We love to have you. Like, that's, future generations, man. If we can get everybody through, we will. But, they've got to do it themselves. So
Dang right. Got to do your own work first. Jacob, thanks again for coming on the podcast. Everybody else, like, follow, subscribe on all of the platforms. You can find us anywhere. If you just Google One's Ready, we come up on the first page now, so no big deal. That's a little humble brag. So go to onesready.com. You can find us everywhere we are, and go and hit us up on IG if you got any questions. We always engage with everybody. Jacob, once again, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Everybody else, train hard. See you next time.